All right, guys, it's finally time for the special guest. Well, they're all special guests, but this one's maybe a little more special, just a little bit, because it's rare. Let's be real here. And I know nothing about this amp except what the customer had mentioned before. Let's go to that post. And here's what he says about it. All right, I'm gonna go to read more. So this amp has been built inside of what was, I don't know if they're still producing the Astroverb series, but this was built inside of the Astroverb cabinet and chassis. And he says, Soldano made it for a jazz musician about 20 years ago, and it ended up being a prototype for the Soldano 44. There were apparently two made. This one's labeled 001. It's housed in an Astroverb body but has different guts. It also has a couple options not available on Astroverb, like a standby switch and some premium parts. I love it for its gooey, chunky distortion and way out there reverbs. It's pretty funky. Lately it's been making some weird popping and machine noises, I'll say. Well, let's have a listen for ourselves and see what she's gonna do. So we do have her warming up on that old current limited supply, and I realize I'm zoomed in here, so let's see if I can get that out there for you. There we go. So you can at least see what it is, right? You gotta love that Tolex, and it feels just as creepy as you remembered when you were kids. If you were living in southern Louisiana, handling snakes that were moving about the waterways and the little drainage systems behind the house, and then the feel of this will be insanely familiar, very creepy. But what a cool look, right? It certainly brings back memories of a bygone era. And there's I'm gonna clean this up. It's making me nuts. I do this off camera, but I saw that I missed a spot. Okay, now let's power it up. The standby switch back here is on, and we're just gonna keep everything. I'm sorry, guys. I'm all out of sorts because I had flipped it around off camera. Let's see. See how I'm just doing everything in one take and as much as possible, just so you can just see that I am an imperfect human. So here we go. Everything is going to be at the 12 o'clock position, with the exception of reverb. Actually, we'll dial it up. Here we go. A little bit of power amp hum, not a lot. Here we go. Just heard some popping. Almost sounds like an open jack. Reverb. Oh, look at that. So we certainly have some dirty pots. Stop looking at my gnarled up finger. So I'm gonna whip her around. Might as well just do it with you on the camera there. And let's see what we can see round back. And it's more of the same. Speaking of that, just a beautiful color combination that I've never seen in person. And I don't find it gaudy. I don't find it gaudy at all. And this is clearly not, this is beautiful. The more I look at it, the more I love it. So let me get you around here. And I'm looking at some 6L6s back there, I believe. Look like some old Softex. I bet they're microphonic by now. Giant iron on this thing. This is clearly not a 16 watt amp. This says model AV50. And there's that added standby switch. So let's get this thing unhoused. I'm just gonna remove the chassis straight away because we need to see what Mike was up to. All right, let's get you wound back in there. And I'm not a big podcast guy. I like to actually listen to comedy as I'm working. What's weird is I'm probably one of the few musicians I know that didn't even really listen to music. Is that weird? I was just in my own little vacuum. Oh my gosh, this dude, the construction of this cabinet is really remarkable. There's one cleat on either side that's supporting both sides of the cabinet. You could probably see that, right? Just runs all the way up. I love that. I do love that. You can see it's kind of starting to split a bit as plywood does, especially when you're going up at a perpendicular angle to the seam. It's just what it does, and that's that just goes to show you how critical it is to make sure that you guys who are going to be punching holes through plywood are going to drill a nice pilot hole. Yep, these are old. These look like old WXTs. I can't quite. Yeah, these are 5881 WXTs. Softex. What I noticed around front, what I had mentioned prior was that some of the pots appear to be a little noisy. And if he's getting popping, certainly anything that's obstructing contact on the preamp end is gonna be very obvious. Let me grab this. Very high quality cabling inside of here. Wow. Nice. There's actually an Eminence Legend in there. I like these for Fender style circuits. The Legend is a great speaker. Plus it reminds me of Brad over at the Guitar Garage. These are great. I've never heard a 12-incher in person though. The last amp I built was my take on a 5E7, and I had it loaded with three 10-inch Legends, and that was a treat to play, man. There's something about those using multiple 10s in an amp that just really do the circuit justice. I normally blast these guys out with compressed air before I bring them inside, but this one's pretty clean actually. Really high quality speaker cabling here. Oh my god, the reverb cable is super thick and juicy. Those RCA cables here. So let me get her out and set up on a chassis stand. I'll get her all chucked up for you. Stand by. The hardware is almost ridiculous, and I love what he did here. Just no detail has been left out. These were also present on the rear panel. So cool. I usually try to get these out because They will fall out at the worst time when you're not ready for it, and you'll never find it again. And if you don't know what these are, check it out. You just gotta look at it. This little detail, this little detail here. See if I can. You can see it has a flat surface, so it's not gonna slice your Tolex when you tighten it up. The cup here is sharp on the edges. See that? Really love it. Like it. I feel like I'm the first guy inside of this amp. All the hardware is immaculate. And I haven't cleaned out since 2 services ago. This little guy has become a caddy. And if we're going to accommodate that Soldano chassis, we need to scoot this guy in. That last Marshall almost pushed my chassis cradle, the adjustment off the base. It's so long. Little bits of rivet left. Awesome. Awesome. Gotta be clean. Clean workspace is a happy workspace, is a productive workspace. Mom always said. So, obviously I got a sneak peek at this guy. And if you've ever been inside of a Soldano or a Soldano clone, then you already know what you're going to be looking at. We'll get it set up regardless. Sorry about that. There's some mercury iron in here. Kind of the only thing I don't like is the way he set up the receiving end of the chassis mount hardware. But it's just picking nits is what I'm doing. But I mean, that's kind of my job. I'm not being negative about the guy's work, obviously. Because when you're going to reinstall this type, they can kind of shift around. They become cross-threaded. And they can deform, never to be used again. And then it gets set your repair back a week as you wait for a replacement part to come in. So I'm going to keep this at a certain angle so you guys can see, and also for the fact that I'm going to do a little, I can see I need to do some cleaning in here. This is a special amp for a guy's kid, so that makes it doubly special. I'm going to make sure I don't capture this. But I just want to make sure. There we go. Did I get enough meat on there? Actually, it's not going to matter if I do, because this is being captured by the top of the cabinet. So let me just grab it. All right. So one thing Mike likes to do, he likes DC heaters. That's for sure. And I like the way he runs his heaters. Let me get you in there. I might have to change the camera angle, but I think this will kind of elucidate. So I can, it's just not a good angle for you guys. Is there a little choke on the input? Hang on. And there you can kind of see the interior. You can see how he runs his heaters there. I like it. A lot of people have copied him. Anyway, you could say even in a deeper sense, a lot of people have copied his circuits and then have hurried up to create copyrights and trademarks on top of the work that he did, which I guess I'm talking about Randall Smith and maybe even Peavy. If you're familiar with some of Peavy's earlier high gain amps, and obviously the dual rectifier series or rectifier series from Mesa Boogie, then you know what I'm talking about. So this is what we're looking at. Beautiful, obviously, beautiful construction. What am I going to do? I see a couple of stress joints on the bias supply. I'm going to check the health of these caps. These look like nice quality caps. Mercury iron throughout. But I need to clean up this circuit board so I can inspect these solder joints for the preamp tube sockets. And then I'm gonna have to do a deep clean on the pots and the jacks. And we will take it from there. Bye. And the back, and what I'm doing now is I'm putting some rolls of paper towels down to capture the funk that'll be coming off of this circuit board. I can see a couple small solder splashes, not a big deal at all. And we all forgive Mike for any transgression because he's brought us so much with respect to innovation and quality. There we go, and that was it. So, another thing that I'm not particularly fond of is the use of the Zycon 5-watt cement style resistors for the screen grids. I prefer like smaller or lower mass wire wound types, though those are that particular type. But that just goes to show you that guys being critical of Mike's work can only attack him on a philosophical front. You're not gonna gain any advantage other than making yourself look like a tool, you know, by trying to criticize his layout or design work. He's impeccable. He's damn near untouchable. So this will capture all the funk that I'm looking to remove, and we'll just get underway. Alright. And provided these output tubes are healthy, we'll check the bias and adjust where appropriate as well. This is just IPA, not the beer, obviously. But we're going to do a full scrub down on this board, because I can't really give a proper assessment on the tube sockets without having that clear visibility of the joints there. So I don't know if this is going to shake you guys or not. There we go, that's looking nicer. And these are looking good. So pardon me if this is shaking the camera, but it's on. Cinematics isn't my priority right now. It's just getting this amp ready for this guy's kid. Really thick traces, I love it. Just do the rest of these as well since I'm in here. It sure looked like I was one of the first guys in. This was, according to the circuit board, built off of the Astroverb PCB, and I could see where there were some mods that were made. Incredibly robust design, even on the... Wow, I'm looking at the other end of the RCA jacks, the reverb cables. Wow, what nice quality resistors. Great job, Mike. Again, he doesn't know who I am. You know the whole routine. He's never gonna, and he's not gonna, certainly not gonna swim by this channel. But if he does, good job. But you already knew that. There's just one more little splash there. Nice. So let me give her one more little spray after I get this smoothed out. That looks good. These joints look great. Wow. Beautiful. I have nothing to say. Nothing to say except excellent. This will be the wash here, the rinse off. I love watching all that old flux and filth just run down the board onto this napkin or these paper towels. That looks great. Love it. Just a little more. Awesome. This does not need my attention. And if it did, all the components save the filter caps are readily accessible from the top side of the board, which is what you would expect from the dude. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these. I'll go ahead and clean these pots here. There's this company called Aeroflex, and they're not a sponsor, but I always pump their stuff. I always pump people's things if they're good. And they just make straw extensions in a variety of angles, and they make aerosol nozzle toppers. I'll just show it to you. What the heck? And they save me so much time and from wasting products. And then here's one of the toppers. If you've ever used these types of straws, and you know that they just pop out for no reason, and then this prevents that. Just such a good product. So I'm going to use this little extension here to drive the cleaning fluid into the pots, and we'll take it from there. And I don't have to tip this thing over, which is lovely. And if they're tight up against the circuit board, it's not going to matter. This will run down the circuit board, and I have a small, I have a bit of the alcohol that's still flashing off. So that's going to help this stuff get down to the bottom of the board. I will spray once more. And had I been thinking, I would have done this first. There we go. Doesn't take a lot of this stuff. Does go a long way. That napkin is dirty now. Those paper towels, rather, are dirty. I probably waste a lot of the solvents that I use and a lot of the other chemicals. But that, for me, that's just the price of doing business. Because things just have to be clean. It's just the way it is. And then let me get them to get this stuff down off the board. Because the oxide is conductive, whether you like it or not. Now I'm gonna force it down and get it drying. This is gonna get it out from the small crevices. Underneath and connecting the resistors. I don't want anything wet and conductive remaining on the circuit board. And we got one more bit of the process to do after. All right. That board is looking good. And then finally, and here's a little trick. Sometimes if you have a pot that refuses to clean, if you just heat up the shell of it and work the knob, sometimes that'll get it going. And if they're stuck as well. This is a relatively low power unit here, so we're not doing any damage. Certainly cooler than those tube sockets are when this thing is running. Awesome. And I've got to do those tube sockets. Jacks. Great. Sorry, I'm trying to work around this this clamp here. All right, and here's all the funk. All right, so if I'm gonna reflow the backs of those. I'm gonna reflow the fuse holders just because it looks like they're developing what could be a break in the joints. It's probably just the way it's adhered, but I'm still gonna just touch them up. Everything else looks great. No complaints. There's a little bit of solder up there too. All right, Jesse, sorry for the news, but your pot needs to be replaced. I've aggressively cleaned it out. I've reflowed the solder joints, so I've got to pull the board, and we will take it from there. Bye. All right, so despite some uncomfortably aggressive cleaning, I've got to replace this preamp pot, and I've got to remove this board to do it. I mean, no pressure, right? It's only one of two in existence. But what a pleasure it is to work on this. It's an honor. So we're just going to do what we got to do to make it right. And that's just always the way it goes. So 1, 2, 3, 4 preamp tubes and 1 phase inverter tube. Let's make sure the caps are drained. I'll do a quick voltage check. Nice. Only about 6 volts left in the system, or less. We're down to millivolts now, so I can proceed. Kind of breaks my heart that I have to do this. It's crazy to think that this is a prototype. And while I'm in here, and then this is where the slippery slope begins. Since I'm lifting the board, while I'm in here, what values are these? $33 UF at 450 volts. So we have the preamp filter nodes there, and we'd have to loosen up this input jack as well. But I am running out of time for today. Sadly. There we go. So I'll replace that preamp pot. There's still a lot of 120 in the preamp, and I don't think it's a shielding thing. So that's post rectifier noise. And there's really no discernible noise in the power amp whatsoever. All right, so it looks like I can just snip this wire tie. Oh, another fan of the purple cable tie here. And that begs the question, did I get it from looking at old pics of Soldano chassis? Or did I get it just because it was just part of what came in the assortment pack and I just fell in love with it too? I kind of feel like purple is a mic thing, so we'll see. Let's get a driver in there. It feels like there's 6, and this is a number 1 that needs to be in there, not this number 2. Feels like there's 6 standoffs here, and I should be able to slide the board back and then flip her over. That's what I'm hoping for. Without disrupting anything else. So, at least I could service what's on the rear of the board, or bottom side of the board. Because it looks like I don't think there's anything mounted back there. There's just some pass-throughs that I've already kind of addressed from the top side. But we'll see if anything's maybe lifted from the back for whatever reason. Just weird things happen. Are these on standoffs as well? Yeah, it feels like this little input choke might be sitting on a standoff. I don't know. But it's certainly stopping the board from moving out. Let's see. See if anything's happening down there at the same time, huh? It doesn't appear to be. That's nice. All right, and I can see the board starting to lift. Excellent. That's excellent. That actually makes me quite happy. Quite happy. Here we go. Thank you, Mike. God, that could have been horrible. That really could have been horrific. Thank you, Mike. And it feels like the entire standoff kind of came off with it. That's okay. Whoa, look at that. It's all kind of together, isn't it? Okay, what's the hold up? The socket. Or is it something more nefarious? There we go. And it's up. That's nice. So there's a bit of there's an aluminum bit going across the front. You can kind of see. I'm gonna have to remove that. Awesome. And then that's the board. If you can believe it. Is that crazy? We're going where no man has gone before, literally. Stand by. All right. And we're back. I don't have too much more time to film with y'all today. So we might just take what we can get. Have to call it a day. We're gonna have to call it a day in a few minutes. No pressure, right? No pressure. So this looks like, let me check this again. 1 meg. I'm gonna touch up some of the joints down here. There she is, way over here. I've gone ahead and cleaned up just a couple solder joints. They weren't. These were not broken joints. It's just the way they look on the bottom side of a board of this quality. They were securely soldered to the top side, so I didn't mean to misrepresent Mr. Soldano's work there. So there you go. All right, Jesse, I'm chasing down one final noise. It's an intermittent noise in the power amp. There's a lot of gain in this preamp. Oh my gosh. So we got you taken care of. And I'm hoping it's not these tubes. So I'll give you an update on that stuff later. I got to stop filming. I am out of time.